Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 7th episode of Story, and it only takes one person to change history. What if a simple act of kindness results in 4 of Konoha's best friends? Please hit the subscribe and like buttons. Let's get this party started. Awe and shock was the theme of the crowd. They were used to seeing amazing things, but this was just extra amazing. After moments of awed silence, a voice broke through to everyone. Holy shit, Choji's a freaking giant. The voice shouted. Choji was as tall as the top of the stadium wall. Tenten was in shock as she was eye to eye with her opponent. That's when the light began to dim around her. She realized too late as Choji's large hands closed in on her as a clap. The sound was incredibly loud as everyone had to cover their ears. Even villagers outside the stadium could hear it. Choji lowered his hands to the ground before opening them. This released Tenten, who was out cold. Hayate went to check on Tenten as Choji shrank back down to normal size. Hayate checked on Tenten to see if she was okay and found that she was just out cold. As he stood to announce the winner, he heard a thump. He looked behind him to see Choji on the ground, only he was very skinny and had swirly eyes. The Jonin just chuckled before turning to the crowd. Due to neither competitor being able to continue, this match has been declared a draw, Hayate said with a cough. The crowd clapped for the two despite the outcome of the match. That was surprising. The Kazekage said. He turned to face the Hokage. It seems that you have improved your village's training methods. You can say that. The awe and shock was the theme of the crowd. They were used to seeing amazing things, but this was just extra amazing. After moments of awed silence, a voice broke through to everyone. Holy shit, Choji's a freaking giant. The voice shouted. Choji was as tall as the top of the stadium wall. Tenten was in shock as she was eye to eye with her opponent. That's when the light began to dim around her. She realized too late as Choji's large hands closed in on her as a clap. The sound was incredibly loud as everyone had to cover their ears. Even villagers outside the stadium could hear it. Choji lowered his hands to the ground before opening them. This released Tenten, who was out cold. Hayate went to check on Tenten as Choji shrank back down to normal size. Hayate checked on Tenten to see if she was okay and found that she was just out cold. As he stood to announce the winner, he heard a thump. He looked behind him to see Choji on the ground, only he was very skinny and had swirly eyes. The Jonin just chuckled before turning to the crowd. Due to neither competitor being able to continue, this match has been declared a draw, Hayate said with a cough. The crowd clapped for the two despite the outcome of the match. That was surprising. The Kazekage said. He turned to face the Hokage. It seems that you have improved your village's training methods. You can say that. The changes were small, but the fruit it bore was worth it, Hiruzen said. I should say so. The Kazekage said. He turned his attention back to the field as medics came to pick up the two competitors. He spent most of his time looking at Choji. His eyes narrowed as he watched him. The boy should not have been able to use the multi-size jutsu in that way. He knew that many Akimichi clan members did not have the chakra or calories to perform it until they were 16. The fact that he was even able to do it without the use of the Akimichi chili pills only furthered his annoyance. He would have to make plans to deal with this new generation, or they could become bigger problems in the future. Sakura and Hinata entered the competitors' box. They saw the guys with the exception of Shikamaru and Shino. Lee was quick to occupy their space, unnerving the two. Sakura-chan, Hinata-chan, have you each recovered from your glorious battle? Lee exclaimed. Hinata began, but she was saved by her teammate. You really need to develop an inside voice, Lee, he said to him. Lee looked dejected but backed off. He looked at the two. Hey Hinata, what's up with the cold patch on your cheek? It's to stop the swelling from continuing. Sakura hits really hard. Hinata explained. Naruto chuckled as he looked at Sakura. She-Hulk. Naruto muttered. Sakura glared at him, but it turned into a worried expression that Naruto caught onto. Something wrong? She walked up to the group. I'm a bit concerned about Sasuke, Sakura said softly. What about him? Kiba asked in the same low voice. We were in the medical bay and overheard him arguing with Kakashi-sensei. He has no regrets about his attempt to use the Tail Lightning Jutsu against you, Hinata explained. He also was planning on coming back here to finish your fight. He told Kakashi that you are one of his enemies. Kakashi had to physically restrain him to the bed to stop him. It doesn't look like he's going to leave you alone after this. Sakura added. Thanks for the heads up, Naruto said. He turned his attention back to the field to see Shino and Shikamaru face off. He wasn't writing off the warning, but he decided to focus on the next match to clear his head. The others understood this and joined him in watching. Hayate looked at the two who still had their hands in their pockets. You two ready?" he asked. "Yes," Shino stated. "Let's get this over with." Shikamaru groaned. "Okay, begin," Hayate said loudly. Shino's hands shot out of his pockets and launched his parasitic insects. Shikamaru ran away as Shino's swarm chased him. As he ran, Shikamaru did some hand seals. "Confinement barrier," Shikamaru shouted. A purple sphere surrounded him and protected him from the swarm. They tried to break through but were denied. Shino pulled out a kunai before tossing it at Shikamaru. The kunai hit the barrier and broke it in an instant. The insects immediately attacked and surrounded Shikamaru. The young Nara was able to escape his fate by replacing himself with a log. Shino looked out for him only to block several shuriken that came from his left. He directed his swarm to the area and Shikamaru was back on the run. This was how the match continued as Shikamaru would continue to use his barrier ninjutsu only to have it destroyed by Shino's kunai. It was only after the fifth one did Shino realize what Shikamaru wanted him to do. He decided to save his last kunai for when the opportunity arise. Shino put all his efforts in trying to corner the running Shikamaru. The lazy Nara was running for his life until Shino finally cornered him against the wall. There was no avenue of escape for him. Shino ordered his swarm to attack, forcing Shikamaru to use a jutsu. Shadow Net Jutsu. He called out, making cracks with his shadow. Shino saw this and assumed that this was another barrier and used his last kunai. A smirk appeared on Shikamaru's face as he released the jutsu, creating a whirlwind that blinded Shino and took out some of his insects. When the whirlwind died down, Shikamaru was gone. Shino was looking around for him only to have 3 rods shoot out of the ground, surrounding him. Lightning style, lightning bind. A 3-sided wall of electricity surrounded and trapped Shino. Shikamaru popped out of the ground. The ninja looked tired and annoyed but was happy. He had used the earth-style, underground move jutsu to escape the swarm and get close to Shino. He then used the rods that were given to him by Asuma and used the jutsu that he taught him. Shino tried to get free by using the parasitic insects but they were shocked by the barrier. Shino figured that he could still capture Shikamaru with his swarm outside but Shikamaru could easily go back underground and hide. While Shino knew he could probably outlast him, his friend did hang out with both Kiba and Naruto. One would need really good cardio to keep up with those two. Using his logic, Shino realized that his victory was slim to none. He turned to Hayate and signaled him. "I would like to surrender. Logically speaking, I have no way to escape and my opponent is very good at running," Shino said. The Jonin nodded at him. "The winner, due to surrender, Shikamaru Nara," Hayate announced. Hearing that he was the winner, Shikamaru released Shino before laying on the ground. He let out a breath of relief. Shino just looked at his opponent. "To be honest, I thought you would have surrender after 2 minutes. I am happy that you respect me enough to try," he said. "I respect you but I'm done with this tournament. I haven't worked this hard since the academy and I don't plan to do so in the next round. I blame those two up there for this." Shikamaru grumbled. This amused Shino greatly, not that you could see it. "You gave him Kaitane's weapons and jutsu?" Kurenai asked with some surprise. She knew how important they were to him. "Kaitane wouldn't want them gathering dust in my home. Besides, it was the perfect jutsu for Shikamaru. Granted, he won't use it again or continue on but I'm proud of the fact that he tried against Shino. It will also be funny when he is promoted," Asuma said with amusement. "You're right about that," Kurenai said with a giggle. "I would also recommend Naruto as his match against Sasuke showed some ability to lead. However, I know that there are still a few that still have their issues with him." Asuma nodded in agreement at that. That's when Kakashi arrived with Sasuke in tow. They watched as the Jonin forced the last Uchiha into a seat. The two glared at each other before Sasuke turned his attention to the field. The two Jonin looked on in concern and wondered what happened between them. Still tired and annoyed, Shikamaru entered the competitor's box. He looked at Naruto and Kiba with the same annoyance he looked at Shino with. The two looked at him with smirks, indicating that they knew why he was so unhappy. "You think this is funny, don't you? You think that you have brought me over to the dark side, huh?" Shikamaru spat angrily. "Shika, why are so serious?" Kiba asked with an amused tone. "All Naruto and I wanted to say is good work out there. You really show that will of fire." Naruto looked on with a smirk and slow clapped for Shikamaru. "You won't know when but I will make you both pay for this." Shikamaru grumbled. Naruto and Kiba laughed at him before turning back to the field. They watched as Lee faced off against Gaara. Everyone, except Neji, was worried about this match due to how Gaara acted. They were all pulling for Lee. They watched as the match started as Lee rushed in. Everyone thought that this was a mistake as the sand automatically protected him. Lee's attacks were not working and had to retreat. Lee was nearly caught by the sand but was able to escape, making everyone sigh in relief. "Hey, your comrade should just give up. He ain't getting past Gaara's sand," Kankuro joked. That's when they heard Guy shout at Lee to take his weights off. Kiba would have slapped his forehead if both arms weren't in slings. "I forgot about that. Lee wears the same weights I do every day. He's probably going at half speed," Kiba said. "Please, you don't actually think a couple of pounds is going to make a difference?" scoffed Tamari. That's when Lee's weights hit ground, shaking it and creating 2 craters. Everyone was wide-eyed at that. Shikamaru looked at Kiba. "How much weight does he move with?" Shikamaru exclaimed. That's when Lee vanished and appeared next to Gaara. Lee's punch nearly caught Gaara and plowed through the sand. Lee began to move at incredible speeds, surprising Gaara. Lee then connected with a punch that sent the redhead flying. This shocked his siblings. Lee continued to move too fast for Gaara's sand and once again, Lee landed another blow. This isn't real. There's no way this is happening," Kankuro shouted. The Konoha shinobi looked at them with some confusion. They looked back to the match to see Gaara stand. They also saw the crazy smile on his face as the sand began to cover the cracks on his jaw. "What the? Is that? Is he wearing sand armor?" Kiba asked. That's when they noticed feathers falling down. Everyone was starting to feel really sleepy but Sakura, Neji, Shikamaru, Hinata and Shino recognized that it was a genjutsu. They quickly dispelled the genjutsu and helped dispel it over Naruto and Kiba. They were wondering what was going on when Sakura noticed something. It was Kankuro and he just launched his puppet at Naruto. "Naruto," she shouted. The blonde looked up to see the puppet on him. Neji reacted and quickly got in front of him. "Rotation," he shouted. The chakra dome knocked back the puppet. Tamari growled before opening her fan all the way. "Wind Scythe Jutsu," she shouted, launching a huge wind attack. It caused an explosion in the competitor's box. The Jonin saw this and was worried for their students. They couldn't do anything to help them now as several sand and sound shinobi appeared within the crowd who were all fast asleep. They were engaged with the enemy, protecting the villagers. The fighting was starting to get intense. On the roof, the Kazekage had Hiruzen with a kunai to his throat. However, that quickly changed when Hiruzen burst into flames, surprising the Kazekage. He managed to escape being burned. He chuckled at the attempt before facing Hiruzen. "Cute, you learned a new jutsu. Assuming that you learned something from a child," the Kazekage said with a different voice. "That same child also put a curse on you," Hiruzen said. "That he did. Surprised and annoyed me at the same time. All those children have been annoying me," he sneered. "You should be more concerned with me. Seeing how you made some careless mistakes, I might just send you back to the academy," Hiruzen said with a smirk. An amused snort was made as the Kazekage removed his face and hat, revealing it to be Orochimaru. "Very well, sensei, let's begin." The view of smoke could be seen coming from the stadium. If you were closer to the building you could hear the sounds of battle. The shinobi of the leaf were engaged with shinobi of the sand and shinobi of the sound. The Hokage was also in battle against his old student, Orochimaru. Lee watched all this with shock and couldn't believe that it was happening. That's when he saw the dust coming from the competitor's box. He made his way to check on his comrades but had to quickly dodge a wave of sand. Lee continued to dodge the sand with ease, trying to get to his comrades. That's when he saw something jump out of the dust. He saw that it was his comrades, all of them safe. Naruto was carrying Kiba while Sakura held onto Akamaru. Shikamaru and others landed onto the field, closely followed by the 2 sand shinobi. Lee regrouped with his allies as the 2 older siblings did the same. "Are you all alright?" Lee asked. "For now," Naruto answered. He looked around and saw what was happening. "Holy shit, this is bad. We need to find our sensei. I don't think the redhead is going to let us," Shikamaru commented as Gaara launched his sand at the group. Naruto quickly pulled out 2 canisters and tossed them. "Cover your eyes and ears," he shouted as the 2 canisters exploded, creating a blinding light and loud screech. Gaara and his siblings were going nuts at the sound. When it died down, the group was gone. The group were making their way to the medical bay. They entered before securing the door. Choji and Tenten saw this and was worried. "Guys, what's going on?" Choji asked. "We're being invaded. The Hidden Sand Village has betrayed us and the Hidden Sound Village are their allies," Shikamaru said. "I think the leader is that Orochimaru guy. He's trapped in a barrier with the old man. Naruto added. He looked around and saw some adults. Hey, how many shinobi do we got in this room? We can heal, not fight. Answered one of them. Okay, Choji, Tenten, are you guys able to fight? Naruto asked. Sorry guys, I'm still very low on chakra. Choji answered. I can fight. I was just cleared, Tenten said. Okay, I got a plan. Sakura and Tenten, you guys need to get the injured out of here into a more defensible position. We won't be able to hold this area for long. The rest of us that are able are going to find a Jonin. We need to know what's going on and what we can do. Naruto ordered. Hinata, you take point while your cousin takes the rear. Shino, send out scouts to tell us of who's coming our way while you, Naruto, create some distraction with your clones. Shikamaru added. Most of them nodded at the instructions and got ready to move. Naruto quickly pulled out his ink set and began to leave some traps for anyone coming in. After being shown a back door, the two groups quickly separated to complete their objectives. Asuma cut down 2 more shinobi before throwing his knife into another ninja, saving one of his comrades. He retrieved his weapon and looked at the battle before him. Things seemed to be going very well as they were prepared for anything. What the Jonin discovered during the second part of the exam helped his father and the elders prepare for this scenario. He couldn't help but be proud of the work they did. He was also happy that they managed to escape whatever happened in the competitor's box. Asuma-sensei. The man turned to see the Jonin. He made his way over to them. What are you guys doing here? He asked. We couldn't defend the medical bay. Sakura and Tenten are leading the injured and medics to better position while we came to find out what to do. Naruto explained. Good plan kid. I don't think that you'll be needed as much. Head back and find. Asuma was suddenly joined by Guy. Asuma could tell that the man was not happy. Guy, what's wrong? Kakashi sent Sasuke after that Jonin, the redhead, Guy said, shocking everyone. He looked toward the Jonin. Lee, Naruto, Shino, and Shikamaru, I am giving you an S-rank mission. I need all of you to pursue and help Sasuke defeat the Sand Shinobi. Lee, you have my permission to go all out. Shikamaru, you are in command. Yes Guy-sensei, Lee exclaimed. Why me? Shikamaru whined. Sasuke pursued the siblings to the forest northwest of here. Get going. Guy ordered. The 4 boys moved carefully outside the stadium. Once out, Shikamaru quickly made a plan. Alright, as annoyed as I am, let's get moving. If this guy Gaara is the key to the whole invasion, they would protect him. Them moving northwest will put them in close to the middle if they continue their path. Sasuke chasing them may change things but I seriously doubt it. We'll move in 2 teams. Lee and Naruto, you guys head north through the alleyways. You might be able to get ahead of them. Me and Shino will follow Sasuke's path and catch up. If we do this right, we can trap them in a pincer move, he said. That's a solid plan, Shino said. I'm all for it. Naruto added. Lee just nodded. The 4 separated to start the mission. Gaara was annoyed. He was so annoyed that he could kill something right now. He didn't care if they were friend or foe, something needed to die. The target of his bloodlust was that Jonin who hurt him. He was the first to ever get past his sand, the first to ever landed an attack. It wasn't just 1 attack, it was 2. He was excited as he would have proved his existence with his blood. His mother demanded his blood and he would have given it if it was for that blonde's little distraction. The screeching sound and the blinding light infuriated him and his mother. He was going to correct the failure of his siblings and hunt everyone down but was stopped by his sensei. He would have killed him for interrupting him but he reminded him of the destruction that he need to inflict. It was the only reason he was complying, nothing else. He didn't care if his siblings stayed away. He would have killed them if they tried to come near him. He just wanted to get this over with and destroy this village. He suddenly felt heat but he was not hit as his mother protected him. The 3 stopped to face their attacker who revealed himself to be Sasuke. I've finally caught up with you, Sasuke said with a grin. His Sharingan bore into the 3 but mostly focused on Gaara's back. Temari readied herself for a fight. Kankuro, you and Gaara get to the staging area. I'll hold off the pretty boy, Temari said loudly. Kankuro was about to argue when Sasuke spoke again. Stay out of my way. I'm not here for you. I'm here for him. I'm going to run my jutsu through his heart and end this little invasion, Sasuke said with a sneer. The truth was, Sasuke didn't care if Gaara was their main attack. All he wanted to do was prove that he was strong enough to defeat the Hidden Sand Village's strongest shinobi. If he defeated Gaara, it would prove that he could take on Itachi and win. Gaara was merely a stepping stone in his ambition. The words he said made Gaara turn to face him. The two were staring each other down. "You have the same eyes as me," Gaara said gravely. "Come then, show me what you can do." Sasuke smirked while the siblings were not happy. "Gaara, this isn't the time," Temari began but was cut off when she and Kankuro was struck by sand. It slammed them into the tree and kept them there. Temari was knocked out while Kankuro was dazed. Gaara ignored them and faced Sasuke, who pulled out his kunai. He launched himself. Gaara, who waited for him, a sick grin on his face. Tenten kept her eye out for any attacks like the other shinobi. So far, the fight had been centralized to certain points of the village. It seemed like the village was prepared for this to happen, which was surprising. Lucky for them, they ran into a couple of shinobi who had set up a shelter near the stadium. Apparently they had set up several of them. "Sakura, we need 2 packets of O-positive." A medic shouted. "Yes sir," Sakura shouted back and went to get the blood. Tenten watched the pink cat work as she got the blood and rushed back to the medic. She watched as she set up the blood to be injected into a bleeding ninja. It was a blood transfusion to keep the man alive. That's when she heard her name called again and she ran off to help. "Man, she's really going," Tenten said. "Yeah, Sakura has come a long way from what she was," Kiba said. The Jonin offered his help even if he couldn't use his arms right now. Him and Akamaru kept their noses alert for any unfamiliar smells. "I remembered when she was one of those girls who chased after Sasuke. I don't know when the change happened but it was for the better. I like the new her." Tenten rolled her eyes at the tone Kiba used. They then noticed a tall boy come up to her. "Sakura, you can take a rest," he said. "No, I'm okay Haku. I can." She was cut off when Haku took her hand. "You need to rest and let everything settle Sakura. You were attacked, had to defend your comrades and are now dealing with injured people. It is a lot to take in and if you don't rest now and talk about it, you will crumble." "I can handle it. Just rest up and let your mind settle," Haku said. Sakura was blushing up a storm at the contact. "I guess you're right. I have had a day." "Thank you Haku," Sakura said with a smile. Haku smiled back at her. The scene was pretty cute. Tenten then turned to Kiba. "Looks like she's found someone else to fancy." "Sorry Kiba," Tenten said with amusement. This made the others chuckle, including Akamaru. Kiba just pouted and turned his nose up at them. "She wasn't my type anyway," Kiba said. That just made it funnier. Sasuke hit the tree trunk hard. It caused him to gasp and spit out some blood. He pushed himself to his feet so that he could face whatever he just woke up in Gaara. He was doing fine in his battle, using the moves that Kakashi taught him. He was able to score hits on him due to him copying Lee's movements. It made him fast and Gaara could barely keep up. The sand was a problem but the Sharingan helped him negate it. He was setting himself up for the kill, activating the Chidori. As Kakashi authorized deadly force, he had no problem rushing in and delivering the deadly jutsu. The only problem was that he missed Gaara's heart and hit his shoulder, bypassing his armor. That's when things started to go wrong. Gaara, who must have never been injured, couldn't comprehend pain. That's when he looked down at his shoulder and saw blood. However, it was not the blood of his victim. It was his blood, his blood. Gaara roared in a panic as Sasuke quickly jumped away as his sand was whipping around the area. Gaara was going crazy at the fact that he got hurt. That's when he began to transform. Sasuke watched in horror as Gaara formed a large claw, a tail and half of his face looked like a raccoon dog. A yellow eye with a 4-point star and 4 dots stared at him with nothing but hatred. With a roar, Gaara charged at Sasuke with increased speed. He barely dodged the claw swipe and quickly got distance. His Sharingan was now useless as he could barely keep up with him. Sasuke tried the Chidori once more but because he used it in his fight with Naruto and Gaara, it was not as powerful and it sapped the rest of his chakra. This left Sasuke at Gaara's mercy as he proceeded to knock Sasuke around. Sasuke looked at Gaara with defiance as he looked back with glee. "You did well up to a point. You are the first to make me bleed, to feel pain. I shall return the favor by crushing you and feeding your blood to my mother." "Isn't that great?" Gaara said manically. "You crazy bastard," Sasuke gasped out. Hey, that look of fear, I love it. That's the look that proves my existence. That proves that my way is the strongest. I love myself and only myself. When you care for others, it makes you weak. I thought you had eyes like mine but I was wrong, so wrong. Now, I'll put you out of your pitiful existence. Now die, Sasuke Uchiha." Gaara launched himself at Sasuke who could not move or defend himself. "Leave Hurricane!" a voice shouted. 2 hard kicks hit Gaara and sent him off course. He looked up to see Naruto descend on him. Naruto delivered 3 punches followed by a palm strike. Naruto summoned a clone and used him as a platform to escape. That's when Gaara noticed the ceiling tag. He had only a second before it glowed. A large explosion encased Gaara as he hit the ground. Naruto landed on a branch as Shikamaru and Shino arrived. They watched the smoke for any movement. A loud roar dispelled the smoke and it revealed something. What is that? A nervous Shikamaru asked no one. The beast looked at all of them with a crazed look in its eyes. I will kill you all. He launched itself at them. Scatter, Shikamaru shouted. They moved quickly as Gaara crashed in the branch, sending splinters of wood everywhere. Gaara rebounded off the branch and launched himself just as quick at Shikamaru. Damn, he's increased his speed. He was about to be hit but was saved by Naruto who kicked him. Naruto did hand seals before taking a deep breath. Wind style, great breach. Gaara was sent flying into the side of a tree. The two landed on another branch and faced him. They watched as Gaara looked up with a crazed grin. Seriously, that didn't even faze him. I don't think anything is going to faze him. At least we've stopped him from getting closer to the village, Shikamaru said. Shino and Lee landed next to them. What is our plan of attack? Lee asked. Shikamaru kept his eyes on Gaara who was just waiting. Lee, Guy-sensei told you to go all out, right? What did he mean by that? Shikamaru asked. Guy-sensei has been teaching me the 8 inner gates. It is a move so powerful that it could even defeat a cage, Lee said proudly. Everyone was stunned by this. Shikamaru took all this in. He figured that Lee's jutsu could be a double-edged technique that would need time. After a few moments, Shikamaru spoke. Okay, Lee, and Naruto, you will face Gaara head-on while Shino and I provide support. We will have to weaken Gaara enough so that you can use the 8 inner gates. This is our only plan. We have to hold Gaara here, he stated. Yes/understood/let's go. Naruto, Shino and Lee said. Naruto removed his jacket and prepared himself for a fight. Gaara grinned maliciously at the group. It doesn't matter what you do. You will all die here, Gaara roared. The group just prepared for the fight of their lives. Jiraiya watched from the top of Gamashiro as he cut off the heads of the 3 snakes that attacked the gates. Despite the victory, he was still concerned. From the reports he got, his sensei was still engaged with Orochimaru but his former teammate was now joined by the first and second Hokage. Then there was the fact that he did not know where Gaara was. He was the trump card to this attack. He just wished where he was. Sending Gamashiro back, Jiraiya made his way over to where he saw Ibiki. He looked at the Jonin with a serious expression. So, what do you have to report? He asked. We've put down 85% of this invasion. The changes we made to the defense of the village has helped us. We have 0 civilian casualties and we have only lost about 15% of our forces. The only area not secured is the stadium and we have not located Gaara yet. Ibiki reported. That worried Jiraiya a lot. If what he learned from one of his contacts, Gaara was the key to all this. Alright, I'm heading to the stadium to secure it. Spare no resource to find Gaara. If we stop him, this invasion will be as good as over, Jiraiya said. Ibiki nodded and the sage made his way to the stadium. He just hoped that he could get to his sensei in time. Naruto skidded to a stop before avoiding several projectiles made of sand. Naruto landed and did some hand seals. From behind, several shuriken were thrown. Wind style, gale bomb. The jutsu sped up the shuriken and they struck Gaara, embedding themselves deep into Gaara. However, it did not stop Gaara as several mouths opened up all over his body. Everyone watched as his body swelled and took cover. Wind style, sandstorm devastation. Gaara roared and launched a sandstorm at them. Everyone could hear the destruction that the jutsu caused. When it was over, several branches were gone and trees were falling over. Gaara kept his eyes for his prey. He caught sight of a shadow and dodged it, charging to where its origin was. Wind circle razor. Gaara stopped and quickly moved as the deadly attack sliced through a tree and some thick branches. One of the attacks sliced off his tail but it quickly reformed. He manipulated the sand of his cut tail and formed a spear. He launched it at the area, hoping to catch his target. He turned his attention back to several clones rushed at him. This made Gaara smirk. Watching from their still trapped position, Kankuro and Temari could only struggle to escape. Damn it, we need to get out of here. If he's in this state, he could transform at any time, Kankuro said. We can't just leave him. We can't just abandon Gaara, Temari stated. He's going to kill us all. There's no way those guys are going to win. In that form, Gaara is unstoppable, Kankuro exclaimed. What if they learn about the base of his tail? They could kill him, she shouted. That's when something burst in a puff of smoke. Naruto quickly used a few one-handed hand signs. He then looked at Lee. "Get ready, Lee," Naruto shouted. "Yosh," Lee exclaimed and began to release the seals to the 8 inner gates. Gate of opening. Naruto summoned more clones to attack. Gaara welcomed the assault with open arms as they engaged. Naruto and his clones did their best to keep Gaara occupied. It gave Lee a chance to keep opening the gates. Gate of healing, open. Gate of life, open. Lee's hair raised and his skin began to turn red. Gaara noticed this as he felt Lee's chakra. Seeing a new target, Gaara launched projectiles everywhere. This destroyed Naruto's clones and sent him flying. He did a seal as he was flying back. Spellbinding circle. A seal appeared below Gaara. Gaara froze up, stunning him. Shikamaru, now. A shadow shot out and attached to Gaara's shadow. Gaara was getting annoyed as neither would hold him. He was about to break free from the shadow and seal only to be consumed in an explosion. Temari and Kankuro looked on in shock as the explosion originated from the base of Gaara's tail. How did they know? They were not shouting that loud. Gate of pain, open, Lee roared. The dust settled to reveal Gaara's form. Half of his body was nothing but sludge. Gone was the tail, claws and eye. Gaara was actually hurt from the explosion and could not reform his body. That's when Lee shot forward, smashing the branch off the tree. Lee landed a kick that sent Gaara flying into the air. Lee bounced off the trees and hit Gaara from all directions. Each blow broke through Gaara's defense, hurting the sand ninja. With each pass, each blow, Lee wrapped Gaara with his bandages. That's when Lee opened another gate. Gate of closing, open. Lee vanished and appeared before Gaara, blasting him in the abdomen. Gaara was sent flying toward the ground but was stopped by Lee pulling him back up toward him. Lee connected with a punch and kick that made Gaara gasp. The power behind the attack created a crater below Gaara. Reverse Lotus. The teen roared. Gaara slammed into the earth hard. Lee would have hit the ground as well if Shino did not catch him. Shino laid him down and he was joined by Shikamaru. "Is he okay?" Shikamaru asked and touched Lee only for him to scream in pain. Shino looked him over before looking at Shikamaru. "All I can say is that he has torn several muscles. We can't move him now and we don't have any tools to secure his injuries," Shino told him. "Damn, that's just what we need. Naruto, make sure the guy can't move. We need to get help here and fast," Shikamaru shouted. "Got it," Naruto said and pulled out a scroll and some brushes. Gaara saw this and his lone eye could only watch with fear. Naruto saw this but he saw much more. He knew that look. It was a look that was very familiar to him a few years ago. It made Naruto hesitate a bit. This would be a mistake as Gaara's fear suddenly turned in rage. "You will not end my existence," Gaara roared and expelled his chakra. A large amount of sand suddenly exploded from Gaara's form and it burst through the treetops. When the dust settled, a large raccoon dog appeared. The sight of this brought fear to Temari and Kankuro. "Shukaku, he's been awakened," Kankuro said with fear. A roar was unleashed throughout the village. Everyone saw this and memories of the Nine-Tails attack 13 years ago came to their minds. From on top of its head, Gaara appeared. He was breathing hard but he still had a grin on his face. "To have pushed me this far, your deaths will not be quick. It will be slow and painful," he said and put out his hand. The demon followed his movement and sand slowly began to make their way toward everyone. Lucky for Shino, Shikamaru, Sasuke and the Sand siblings, they were able to get a distance away when Gaara expelled his chakra. Naruto was not so lucky and was groaning, struggling to get to his feet. That's when he felt the sand creep around him. Naruto tried to escape but he was caught. Naruto began to panic but he remembered he had one jutsu that could help. Naruto searched deep within him to tap into his other chakra. Feeling it and being surrounded by it, Naruto bit into his thumb to draw blood. He smeared it on his palm and started doing hand seals. "Boar, dog, bird, monkey, ram," Naruto whispered and placed his bloody hand on the branch. Summoning jutsu. There was an explosion of smoke that was the same size of the Shukaku. When the smoke cleared, Naruto stood on top a rusty red toad wearing a large blue happy vest with a kanji letter on its back. A massive dosu blade was at its hip. Its yellow eyes focused on the person on its head. "Oh, it's you, Naruto." The toad spoke. "I thought we had a deal. You're too young for a drink. I wish it was that simple, boss Gamabunta." "We have a huge problem in front of us," Naruto said. Gamabunta looked to see what was in front of him. "Shukaku the sand spirit, huh? Do you blondes just like to engage with tailed beasts?" Gamabunta asked with a chuckle. "So I didn't imagine it? He is like me. Naruto decided to focus on what was in front of him for now. "Sorry Boss Toad, but where's the fun in just fighting simple things?" Naruto said with a grin. Game Abunda scoffed in amusement before gripping his blade. "Very well, let's see if I still got it." Game Abunda prepared for a very tough battle. "That blonde idiot, he's always got to do things big. I hope Takami my mother isn't seeing this," Shikamaru said with an annoyed tone. "On this point, we agree. Why did it have to be Toads?" Shino demanded. The Sand siblings, who were restrained, couldn't believe that there was someone in the village that was so strong. The summoning jutsu took a massive amount of chakra. The fact that this blonde possessed the chakra to use such a jutsu, it was no wonder their father wanted him dead. Not too far away, Sasuke looked on at two titans were about to do battle. He clenched his fists so hard that he drew blood. He was trying to activate his Sharingan but he was still so weak. It did not stop his fury and jealousy from growing. Ibiki watched as Game Abunda drew his blade. It had been a while since he saw the Toad. It was only once but he would never forget him. What was surprising was the person on top of Game Abunda. He couldn't help but be amused by the irony of it. However, he had a job to do. "Team Row, get to that location and do everything to help the brat. Something tells me that he's going to need help," Ibiki ordered. "Sir," they said and vanished. Ibiki turned to look as Game Abunda launched forward. "Good luck Naruto," Ibiki whispered. Game Abunda launched himself at Shukaku, his blade ready to strike. "Toad blade cut," Game Abunda shouted and swung his blade. It connected under the beast's arm but it does not cut through. Game Abunda put all of his strength in pushing forward. He is finally able to slice off the arm but lost his blade. The large Toad landed away from the beast and narrowed his eyes. "That sound is dense. I barely cut through it," Game Abunda said. "Give me some oil boss," Naruto shouted. "Okay." Naruto did hand seals and took a breath. Game Abunda's cheeks puffed up and prepared to fire. "Fire style, Toad flame bomb / fire style, Toad flame bomb," they shouted. Naruto fire attack ignites the stream of oil that Game Abunda released. A large stream of flame raced toward the sand monster. Gaara saw this and raised a dome of sand around him as the attack hit. Shukaku was engulfed in flames, the oil keeping it burning. The two kept it up until Game Abunda ran out of oil. Naruto stopped his attack and the two watched as the sand monster burned. Gaara could feel the heat and actually see that the sand was turning to glass. He was having a hard time breathing and felt his vision fading. He would not allow himself to lose at this stage. Gaara did a single hand seal. "Playing possum jutsu," Gaara shouted. It would be moments before the red-haired Jonan suddenly fell asleep. Naruto and Game Abunda suddenly felt the air shift. A loud scream and a blast of wind dispelled the fire that was surrounding Shukaku. "Yes. I'm free." The voice screamed in happiness. Naruto looked forward to see parts of the Shukaku encased in glass, including a dome on the top of his head. The eyes of Shukaku turned toward him and Game Abunda with evil intentions. Shukaku pointed at them. "I've found someone to kill." "This just got harder, didn't it?" Naruto asked. "Yes, it has. Hold on Naruto. I'm going to jump," Game Abunda said. Shukaku slammed his claw into his stomach. "Wind style, air bullet." Game Abunda jumped just as a ball of air came flying out of its mouth. The sound was like a cannon, the booming sound was deafening. The jutsu tore through the forest and kept traveling until it hit a building. It was a good thing that there were no people there as the blast obliterated it. Naruto was stunned by the sheer destruction of the jutsu. In the air, Game Abunda did a seal. "Water style, liquid bullet," Game Abunda shouted and fired an orb of water. The jutsu sped toward its target. Shukaku moved to the side to avoid being hit and raised his claw again. He fired another air bullet. Game Abunda landed and jumped quickly to avoid the jutsu. Naruto just hung on for dear life. He looked back to see the sand monster preparing to fire. "Boss," Naruto exclaimed. "Air bullets," he shouted and fired 3 bullets at the airborne Toad. "Liquid bullets," Game Abunda shouted and fired 3 to counter the attacks. The 3 attacks clashed, creating a storm of water and wind. Naruto looked down to see that he couldn't see Shukaku. A crazy idea came to his head and he decided to go for it. Getting a running start, Naruto jumped off Game Abunda and into the storm. Shukaku watched as several clones came out of the storm and landed on his head. Get off," he shouted. The clones rushed toward the glass dome, avoiding attacks from the sand. They came together at the dome before exploding together, shattering the glass. Lucky for Shukaku, Gaara was still asleep. The sand monster turned his attention back to Game Abunda, who grabbed his weapon. "Ha, that will do nothing against me." You should be more concerned with my summoner, Game Ibana spat. Shukaku was confused until he heard a loud screeching sound. The sound woke Gaara, who screamed in pain, blood coming from his ears. Naruto shot forward and slammed his palm onto Gaara's chest. Wind style, Gale Bomb. A huge gale appeared between the two. The power of the gale ripped Gaara out of the sand and sent him flying. The blowback also sent Naruto flying and the two fell down into the forest. No. I just got out, Shukaku cried out before he began to crumble into sand. Game Ibunta looked on with a deep sigh. That boy is as reckless as his mother. Only she would have pulled a stunt like that. Game Ibunta muttered. He then chuckled as he sheathed his blade. Still, good job Naruto. I wish I could watch the end of your fight, but I am out of chakra. Good luck, kid. With that final thought, Game Ibunta dispelled in a puff of smoke. Shikamaru and Shino watched as the sand monster crumbled. They couldn't help but be shocked at what just happened. Man, Naruto just likes to do reckless stuff. Why am I friends with him? Shikamaru said with a groan. Shino could only nod in agreement. Kankuro and Tamari were just as shocked as the other two. That's impossible, Kankuro said with shock. Tamari had a more volatile reaction. Gaara! She roared and quickly got to her feet. Despite her hands being bound and low on chakra, Tamari launched herself in the air toward the battle site. She managed 2 hops before she was slammed into a tree. Everyone was stunned when the masked ninja just appeared. 3 more masked shinobi appeared next to the Jinan. Shikamaru and Shino were quickly on guard, protecting themselves, their captive and Lee. The one with long purple hair looked at the two. When the tree leaves dance, one shall find flame. A female voice recited. The fire's shadow will illuminate the village and once again, tree leaves shall bud anew. Shikamaru and Shino replied. The two relaxed but didn't lower their guard. The purple-haired woman looked them over while the large ninja came with Tamari, kicking and screaming, under his arm. She looked at the two Jinan. I need a report, Jinan. She ordered. Shikamaru nodded and began to speak. We managed to defeat Gaara together, which is why Lee is so hurt. Gaara then transformed into a huge sand monster. Naruto then summoned a large frog or toad or whatever to fight him. Naruto and his summon just managed to beat the sand monster. However, I don't think the battle is over. To prove his point, an explosion was heard. Tenzo, Ko, help Shinan Uzumaki and restrain Gaara. I will prepare Lee for transport. Shu, secure the prisoners. Ma'am, they exclaimed and 2 of them vanished to help Naruto. Naruto dodged another spear that was thrown at him. The blonde countered with a kunai. Gaara raised the broken sand to form a wall. The kunai hit the wall before it glowed brightly and exploded. The power of the explosion sent Gaara flying into a tree. Naruto shot forward, a seal in his hand. While dazed, Gaara was able to catch Naruto with the sand. Sand tendrils ensnared Naruto's wrists, ankles and stomach. The blonde struggled against his bonds. Gaara was breathing hard and glared at Naruto. You thought you could defeat me? And my existence? You may have lasted longer than the Uchiha, but you will fall just like him. Now, die, Gaara shouted. He formed another tendril to choke Naruto. The blonde was slowly turning blue, but he smirked at Gaara. Naruto glowed before exploding, consuming Gaara. Gaara stumbled out of the smoke and did not see Naruto coming. The punch was hard and sent Gaara to the ground. Naruto jumped and double-stomped Gaara in the gut. Naruto then slapped the seal on his chest. Naruto was about to activate it when he felt a stabbing pain in his side. Naruto looked down to see a spear of sand. Ignoring the pain, Naruto activated the seal. Gaara suddenly couldn't move and felt 10 times heavier. Naruto rolled off Gaara and got as far from Gaara as he could. He pulled out the spear and used his jacket to stem the bleeding. He stumbled to a tree and sat down, leaning against it. Son of a bitch, this hurts, Naruto shouted. He looked at Gaara, who was still struggling. Give it up, Gaara. That seal works by increasing your weight 10 times over. As long as that seal is activated, you aren't going anywhere. No. I refuse to be defeated. I must prove my existence, Gaara shouted. It hurts, doesn't it? The loneliness and hate that you received just because of something out of your control? Naruto said. Gaara stopped struggling when he heard that. Yeah, I know that feeling. 7 years of my life, I was ignored and hated because of what I had. Never knew about it until I became a Jinan. To learn the reason for their hate, I was a little pissed off that they would blame me. I was just born and this burden was put on me without my consent. Then why do you defend them? They do not deserve your strength. Why did you not turn out like me? Gaara asked. Someone, a guy my age, invited me to dinner with his family. He and his family let me in their home and treated me well. After that, he started losing his friends, so I kept my distance. Those friends came after me and he came to my defense. We've been best friends after that. Then I made some more friends who don't care about the village's opinion about me. Granted, they do not know about my burden, but they saved me from being lonely. My ambition to be Hokage is why I never became like you," Naruto explained. "Then you were lucky," Gaara spat. "I have no one. The one person who I thought cared for me attempted to kill me. It was then that I learned that I could only live for myself. Yet, you defeat me. Your way worked while mine failed. It wasn't that your way failed. I was just more willing to fight to protect my village, friends and family," Naruto said. "It isn't too late, you know. You can find those people like I did." "I doubt that," Gaara stated. The conversation ended by the arrival of the two Anbu. The one with the tiger mask knelt down next to Gaara. He noticed the seal on him. He looked at Naruto, who was being taken care of by his comrade. "Hard day, Naruto?" the Anbu asked. "When is it not?" Naruto jokes, wincing in pain. He then looked at Gaara. "So Gaara, are you going to surrender?" "Not like I have a choice," Gaara said. With that, Naruto deactivated the seal. Gaara did not resist as the Anbu secured him. Watching from above, Sasuke glared at the two Genin. He couldn't help but be frustrated at them. Those two had defeated him and showed abilities way beyond he could fathom. It angered him and he would like nothing more than to do something about it. However, he knew that he was now being carefully watched. Things were very different towards him. However, he swore that his losses would not go undealt with. Sasuke vanished, leaving the scene. Orochimaru looked at Hiruzen with nothing but hate. The old man laid there dead, but with that infuriating smile on his face. That smile mocked him as his arms hung limp. They were purple and looked decayed. The old bastard used a jutsu he never seen or heard of to seal away his jutsu. His sensei might be dead, but he still dealt him a critical blow. It wasn't the only critical blow he was dealt. "Take down the barrier." "We're leaving," Orochimaru spat. "Yes, Lord Orochimaru," the four ninjas said. They dropped the barrier and quickly retrieved him, leaving immediately. Three Anbu chased after them but were stopped by a six-armed shinobi who spat out webbing at them. As they carried him, Orochimaru could see just how much his invasion failed. The village showed little signs of destruction. No dead bodies of Leaf Ninja, no crying civilians. All he saw were signs of defeat and men fleeing, like him. It enraged him to see all his work amount to nothing. What really angered him was that his failure started by discoveries made by a bunch of brats. His ignorance and arrogance led to this outcome because he dismissed the threat those kids were. It was only after he watched them perform did he realize the threat. Whatever new system his former sensei implemented, it was working. Because of this new path, his old village was much more prepared and he was made a fool. He lost his jutsu, his men, and he lost face. Orochimaru swore that he would not allow this failure to stand. He would find a way to get back his jutsu, and when he did, he would make the Leaf pay. That he swore in darkness. 9 figures appeared. They all stood in a circle and faced each other. "Report." A distorted voice spoke. The figure had ringed eyes and was looking at the figure with a large, rectangular head. The Hidden Leaf village was victorious. Orochimaru and the Hidden Sand village were completely crushed. Despite their victory, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, was killed. He reported. "Orochimaru was completely defeated, That loser, he continues to be an embarrassment to us. You should let me deal with him. Show him my art." The figure with the top knot asked. "That is not our focus," a female voice said. "What about the containers?" "They fought each other with the 9 tails being the victor. He is stronger than we assumed," the rectangular-headed figure reported. "It doesn't matter. Itachi, Kisame, it is time to make our move. Retrieve the 1 tail and 9 tails." The two figures just disappeared. Soon, all of them vanished into the darkness. It was raining in the hidden village and the leaves. The whole village was out, dressed in black. They all stood in the rain to say goodbye to the village's leader, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. He had given his life to defend the village during the invasion. The Leaf was in mourning and respecting his sacrifice. Naruto stood with the Inuzuka family with a sad expression. He would miss the old man and it hurt when he learned of his death. Thankfully, Sume gave him a place to stay so he wouldn't be alone. His friends were also checking on him and that made the hurt less. Still, he would greatly miss him, swore to live up to his ideals. He wasn't the only one who thought that way. The funeral ended and everyone began to head home. Naruto was leaving with the Inuzuka family when Ibiki confronted them. "Ibiki? Is something wrong?" Tsume asked. Nothing bad. I just need to borrow Naruto, he said before looking at the confused blonde. I don't know what you two talked about during your battle, but he is being reasonable. Hopefully, your connection can reveal a little more than he's told us. Tsume looked at Naruto, who just nodded at her. Naruto moved to Ibiki and stood next to him. He waved goodbye as the two vanished. Shikamaru, Choji and Sakura walked up to the group. What was that about? Sakura asked. Ibiki needed Naruto to talk to that Gaara guy. I don't get it. Why does it have to be Naruto? Kiba asked. If there is one person who can connect with Gaara, it's Naruto. Trust me, Ibiki knows the reason why, Tsume said. This only served to confuse them. Why was Naruto the only person who would connect with Gaara? It would be a few days since the funeral. The hidden leaf was back into the swing of things. They rebuilt the damages done to the village, which was much. They were smiling faces again, and that was something good. On the roof of the Hokage Tower, Jiraiya was giggling as he enjoyed the view of the women enjoying the hot springs. He could not get past the brat Sealer, which annoyed him. Still, he found a way around it. That was until his vision suddenly got foggy. Jiraiya tried to see through the fog, but he couldn't, and it was pissing him off. Having problems? Jiraiya turned to see the elders stand by the window. He glared at the two. I'm assuming that this was your doing? Did you set the brat on me to ruin my fun? Jiraiya asked with a tone. Actually, this was your doing. While he has matured some, Naruto is still a child that apparently you have been ignoring. Koharu explained. Jiraiya growled at her when she said that. Yes, he ignored the brat for more important things. He did not need to be punished for it. With a frustrated sigh, Jiraiya turned to face the elders. Well, what can I do for you, Uncle Homura, Auntie Koharu? Jiraiya asked mockingly. The elders did not show any annoyance at his mocking. We have some things we need to discuss, Homura said. Jiraiya just nodded, so he continued. The first is the escort of the Hidden Sands prisoners we have. How did you manage that? Jiraiya asked with genuine surprise. The third Kazekage's body. Koharu answered. It was found 2 days ago, along with his guards. The Kazekage had a fatal wound to his chest due to a sword. His guards were stabbed multiple times by a pike type of weapon. It was concluded that they were killed by Orochimaru. The Hidden Sand had taken the stance that they were manipulated by Orochimaru, making them out to be the victims. A deal has been made between our daimyo. It will be years before they return to their full strength. Homura added. Color me impressed. I thought for sure your colleague would have objected to any type of trade, especially with the chance to gain another demon container, Jiraiya said. The two elders knew who he was talking about. He was vocal about keeping Gaara, but the gains outweighed his objections, Homura said, passing him a piece of paper. Jiraiya looked at it and his eyes widened. Damn, you weren't kidding when you said that the sand wouldn't recover right away. Something tells me that the Wind Daimyo wasn't happy, he said. He didn't have much of a choice in the matter. His ninja village attacked us over a petty matter, Koharu stated firmly. Well, anything else I need to know? Jiraiya asked. Other than your former teammate now wanted in 2 countries? Our reports have revealed that there has been movement on the borders of the Earth and Lightning countries. Our victory has gotten out and our rivals are nervous. Homura explained. Not surprising. We barely suffered any damage thanks to our Genon discovering Kabuto as a spy. Orochimaru's lost his jutsu and the Hidden Sands trump card was captured. Of course they would be curious. It was 2 against 1. Which is why we need you to take up Hiruzen's mantle. We need you to become the 5th Hokage, Koharu said. I'm going to have to take a hard pass on that, Jiraiya said. This is not the time for your jokes, Jiraiya. We need to show the village is strong, and for that we need a strong leader. That leader is you, she stated seriously. I'm flattered, but there is another who's much more qualified than I, he said. The elders were confused by that. I just need to go and get her. The elders' confusion turned into surprise. You can't be serious? Koharu asked. She has the strength and the pedigree. Who else should be the 5th? The same can be said of Naruto, but we aren't planning to make him Hokage, Homura stated. Look, she's our best option and I can convince her to take the job. However, I just need one person to come and help me. You've got to be joking? You've been ignoring me for 2 days and now you need me to come with you? You've got some nerve, pervy sage, Naruto shouted. The shout caused a few bystanders to look at the two with amusement. Must you call me that? Besides, brat, you spoiled my research with that damn barrier, Jiraiya spat. Yeah, well, the women of the village are happy with what I did, so suck it, Naruto exclaimed with a smirk. It took all of Jiraiya's willpower not to pop him. Anyway, This is an important mission. I would be accompanied by Anbu, but that would only slow me down and raise suspicion. So, how about it, kid? You want to come with me? Jiraiya asked. I don't know. What's in it for me? Naruto asked. Other than getting out of the village? How about a new jutsu to your arsenal? He asked. You do know I make jutsu for fun, right? Can you make one without hand seals? Naruto eyebrows rose at that. Jiraiya smirked at his victory. Kakashi stood leaning against a wall, reading his favorite book. However, he wasn't really enjoying it. It wasn't a good couple of days for the one-eyed Jonin. After the invasion and the Third's burial, he was called on by the Shinobi Council. He was questioned as to why Sasuke did not help Naruto during his battle with Gaara. They explained to him that Sasuke just stood by and watched as Naruto fought Gaara. The only excuse Kakashi could make was that Sasuke was injured and out of chakra. This was confirmed by Shikamaru's report. The council accepted the excuse and Kakashi was relieved. However, his troubles were just starting. Kakashi caught Sasuke attempting to confront Naruto at his apartment. He quickly snatched him up before they were seen. Kakashi demanded to know what Sasuke was planning, but Sasuke did not say anything. Kakashi warned Sasuke that Naruto and Sakura were off-limits. He also berated him for not helping his comrade when he was fighting. Sasuke exploded and said that Naruto was not his comrade. He told him that Naruto was someone that he would deal with in time. Kakashi told him that he better not even try, but he could see that Sasuke was not listening. Since then, Kakashi had kept a closer watch on Sasuke. He used shadow clones for the task and he did not hide the fact that he was following him. He could see that it was annoying him, but Kakashi did not care. He would protect the boy from himself if needed, for his sake. And mine, Kakashi thought. He continued to read his book, but he now kept his eye on the two men that were walking by him. At least this would occupy his mind while he thought of a way to deal with Sasuke. Shikamaru was laying down on the grass. He was looking at the cloud in deep thought. There was just one question on his mind. It was a question he had since the Third's funeral. What did Tsume mean by Naruto being the only one who could understand Gaara? How was that possible? The question just nagged at him. Thinking kind of hard there, son. Shikamaru looked up from his spot to see his father. The elder Nara took a seat next to him and watched the clouds as well. The two just laid there in silence before he spoke again. Still thinking about Tsume's comment? How did you know about that? Shikamaru asked with some surprise. She told me what she said to you and the others at the funeral. Unlike Kiba and Shoji, I know that you would keep thinking about it. It is the same thing you did when you discovered Naruto's clan. You got that curiosity from your mother. You call it her nosy parenting, Shikaku said with humor. Gee, thanks for that, Shikamaru said, annoyed. They were silent again before he spoke. So, are you going to explain what she meant? Let me ask you this. Would the answer change your opinion of Naruto? He asked. What? You have to understand something about your friend. That boy has had a very lonely life because of a heavy burden that has been placed on him. It isn't his fault because he had no say in the matter. Naruto should be celebrated for shouldering this responsibility, but this is not a perfect world. It is because of this that he is the only one who can understand Gaara. They have lived similar lives. The only difference is that Naruto has you, your friends and our families to banish that loneliness. Gaara has not. Shikamaru sat up to look at his father. Shikaku did the same and looked at his son seriously. If you are truly Naruto's friend, what you will learn when he tells you will mean nothing to you. However, know that what he will tell you is a secret that none of you are to know. If you tell anyone what you and the others will learn, there will be dire consequences. Just remember that you two are friends and he trusts you, Shikaku said. He patted his son's head before standing up and leaving. Left alone, Shikamaru just thought about the conversation. This must have been a big thing and it only made him more curious. Shikamaru just groaned and laid back down. Why couldn't he have normal friends? So we're going to retrieve your other teammate, Tsunade? Naruto asked. I'm surprised that you know that name, Jiraiya said. The two were on the road. The man informed Naruto of their mission, which he planned to tell him later. He only changed his mind when he would not quit asking him about the mission. He was way too much like his mother. We learned a bit about her. Hell, out of all of the legendary three ninja, we studied her the most, Naruto said. Really? Why is that? Jiraiya asked. Well, her accomplishments were just more known than yours or Snake Face's. She was a revolutionary in the field of medics. Her skills helped the Leaf Village come out on top during the Second World Ninja War. I know she had an idea to train combat medical ninja, but it never got off the ground. It's because of that we learned basic first aid in the academy. Naruto explained. Wow, That's way more than I was expecting. Anyway, she's going to be our new Hokage, Jiraiya said. Really? Naruto asked concerned. Jiraiya picked up on that. What's your problem with Tsunade? He asked. I don't have an issue with her per se. I just think that you should be picked to replace the old man. No offense, but I don't really have a good opinion of your team. You guys were kind of similar to my team. The blonde said. Well, it was a different time, kid. I get it. It was during a time of war. Still, one of your teammates went rogue and the other hasn't been to the village since the Second World Ninja War. Did she go rogue as well? No, she didn't go rogue. She just has a problem with the village, Jiraiya said. And we're going with her as Hokage? Naruto asked with a tone. Don't be a wise ass, Jiraiya said. Naruto just shrugged and kept walking. The two continued their journey, coming up onto a nearby village. Unknown to them, they were being watched from a distance. So, that is Naruto. He's different from what I remembered. The smaller man said. You're not getting sentimental on me, are you, Itachi? The swordsman asked. Just an observation, Kisame. Let's go, Itachi said. The two followed the leaf ninja toward the town. Sakura was making her rounds at the hospital. It was a position that was offered to her after the invasion. Haku came to her with the position from the head doctor. It didn't take her long before she accepted. She gained a thing for the medical field and wanted to learn more. She was just an observer, but she made a vow not to be one for long. She turned the corner and entered one of the rooms that she was assigned to. When she looked up to check who it was, she was surprised to see Kurenai and Asuma. They were being checked over by the doctors and they looked beat up. Kurenai-sensei, Asuma-sensei, are you alright? Sakura asked worriedly. The two looked at her and were surprised to see her. Before they could say anything, the main doctor spoke up first. I'm sorry, Sakura, but they need our attention. You can check on them later. The doctor said. Sakura just nodded and stepped outside the room. The door closed on her, but she couldn't help but wonder what happened to the two. She also wondered if there was anyone else hurt. XXX Naruto was sitting on his bed reading. He was in the hotel room, which Jiraiya got them. He would have been training, but the pervert got distracted by some really pretty girl. Knowing that he would be by himself for a while, he decided to continue his studies into cursed seals. In truth, he wished that he didn't have to learn about this after he read the first few pages of the art. However, he wanted to be more prepared just in case the jerk who left him the jutsu would try again. Still, he hated this art and he made a promise to himself that he would only learn this to break such seals. His studying was interrupted by a knock on the door. This made him smirk because it meant that the old perv must have gotten shot down already and was depressed. He sealed up his materials and went to answer the door when he saw a seal on the door. It was glowing a very bright red. It meant that who he thought was at the door was not who he expected. Naruto decided to beat a hasty retreat and darted out of the window. He did this just as the door was kicked in. Kisame and Itachi entered the room to find no one. Itachi observed the room and saw that the window was opened. It seems that he knew that we were here. Follow Kisame and bring him back, unharmed. Itachi ordered. Kisame just smirked before going after Naruto. Itachi decided to search the room a bit as he had concerns as to how Naruto knew. That's when he checked the door. Looking behind it, he saw a glowing seal that was red. Interesting, Itachi mused. That's when he felt a familiar chakra. He stepped out of the room and looked toward the end of the hall to see Sasuke. The boy was snarling at him and his Sharingan was blazing. This did not worry him in the slightest and he just faced him. It's been a while, Sasuke, Itachi said. 5 years since you killed everyone. 5 years after you murdered my mother and my father. For all those years, you told me that I needed hatred to defeat you. That I needed hatred to gain your eyes. Well, I gained that hatred, Sasuke exclaimed as he activated the Chidori without hand seals. And now, I'm going to use that hatred on you, Sasuke roared as he charged at Itachi who just waited for him. XXX Kisame was starting to get annoyed with this chase. So far, he caught the brat a total of 5 times. That only got him blinded by leaves 3 times and his hands burned twice. He swore that he would find this brat and shave his damn legs off for the aggravation. That's when his eyes caught sight of 3 more views of the brat inside. He took off after them. From under a cloak, Naruto revealed himself and let out a sigh of relief. That guy was crazy strong. He took out his clones like they were nothing. Then there was that blade of his. He knew that sword was one of those famous swords of the hidden mist. He needed to find the pervert and fast. That's when he heard an explosion. He looked up to see that it was coming from the hotel that he and Jiraiya were staying at. Naruto was worried and decided to double back, creating a few more clones for that guy to chase. He arrived just as the other guy had someone against the wall. He got closer just to see that it was Sasuke. He wondered why he was here until he heard the older man say something about making him experience something bad. It sounded like he was about to place a genjutsu on Sasuke. Judging by how beat up he was, he would not survive whatever jutsu he was planning. He quickly did hand seals and slammed his hands on the ground. Item transfer jutsu, Naruto said. The stream of seals traveled toward Sasuke. Itachi saw this when Sasuke suddenly disappeared and was replaced by a bomb. Itachi jumped back just as it exploded, covering the hallway in a thick smoke. Naruto smirked and was about to grab Sasuke and run only to turn into the swordsman who was chasing him. You've sent me on a merry chase, Brett, but the chase is finally over. I'll give you points for your creativity. I haven't been this annoyed in a long time, Kisame said. I'm surprised, Kisame, that he gave you such trouble. Naruto turned to the other voice to see Itachi step out of the smoke. He then looked at Naruto. It seems that our information has been clearly wrong about you. However, I am going to have to insist that you come with us, Naruto. Naruto cursed under his breath and tried to figure something out. Sasuke stood up and glared at Itachi. Stop ignoring me. I am your opponent, Sasuke shouted. I have no interest in you, Sasuke. My mission is Naruto's capture. Should you get in the way, I will do what I planned earlier, Itachi said. Sasuke snarled and was about to attack again when the hallway began to change. They all saw that the walls, floors and ceilings were turning pink. It was also kind of squishy. Naruto, don't move. A voice said. Itachi looked down the hall to see Jiraiya with both of his hands on the ground. The woman he hypnotized was right by him. The blonde looked at the old man and let out a sigh of relief. Cutting it kind of close there, pervy sage, Naruto exclaimed. Don't call me that, Jiraiya shouted. He turned his attention back to Itachi and Kisame. Well now, I didn't think that the Akatsuki was moving around so soon. If you think that you're getting Naruto, then you have forfeited your lives to the rock lodging toad. That's when Itachi noticed that the flesh was moving, attempting to wrap around him. Kisame, it is time to go, Itachi said. Kisame wanted to argue, but he also noticed that the flesh was wrapping around his sword. He quickly freed it in his foot before taking off with Itachi. You won't escape, Jiraiya shouted, and the flesh began to chase the two. He waited for them to be crushed only to hear an explosion. Jiraiya quickly moved to see what just happened. Naruto followed and the two saw a hole. The hole had black flames in a circle around it. Jiraiya was really surprised by this. That shouldn't be possible. The rock-lodging toad is a fire-breathing toad. Fire shouldn't have any effect on his esophagus, Jiraiya said. Really? Naruto asked with surprise. He then looked at the flames. Maybe these flames are different from any other flame? Jiraiya didn't reply and pulled out a scroll. He sealed the fire up and planned to investigate it further. Jiraiya disengaged his jutsu and the flesh was disappearing. It was all gone soon and everyone was safe. Naruto. The blonde turned to see an angry Sasuke storm up to him, holding his wrist. What the hell did you think you were doing? Itachi was mine. I didn't need your damn help. Oh yeah, you certainly had him on the ropes, Naruto said sarcastically. This enraged the boy greatly. Using his good hand, he quickly whipped out a kunai and tried to stab Naruto in the face. This surprised the blonde, who wasn't prepared for it. Lucky for him, Jiraiya was there. He caught the boy's wrist and quickly slammed Sasuke against the wall, holding his wrist that held the kunai. Have you lost all sense, kid? You realize that you just tried to commit murder, right? Jiraiya asked calmly. I don't care. I will kill him just as I am going to kill Itachi. They are both my enemies, Sasuke shouted. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes before adding pressure to Sasuke's wrist. This caused him to cry out and forced him to release the kunai. That's when Might Guy arrived and looked at the situation with concern. Seeing him, Jiraiya looked at him seriously. Guy, restrain this ninja, he ordered. Guy didn't know what was going on, but he obeyed. He took Sasuke from Jiraiya before restraining him with ninja wire. Sasuke struggled all while glaring at Naruto. The blonde just looked back at him with a mixture of emotions. While he knew that Sasuke hated him, he did not expect it to be like this. Even now, as Sasuke glared at him, he could see the hate in his eyes. This really concerned the blonde, but he would not be caught unaware again. If Sasuke considered him an enemy, then he would do the same. XXX Kin rushed at the wooden dummies. She flicked her wrists and unleashed several senbon that connected. The needles hit the small targets that were placed on several weak points. Kin continued to run as two shinobi jumped into her path. Kin did some hand seals and disappeared. The two shinobi waited for her to reappear only to have their world turn into a hazy blur. They were also sinking into the ground. It took them a while before they dispelled the genjutsu. Kin continued her path and reached the bell that was at the end of the room. With a tug, she rang it. A masked shinobi appeared on the training ground and made their way toward her. They faced the girl before giving her a nod. Kin could only smirk smugly at her victory. Watching from above, the Anbu captain stood along with the elders. "So, has she proven that she can be trusted?" Koharu asked. "I would say that she has earned my trust, along with Komachi. However, her reasons are mostly because of the girl's skill with Senbone. She's eager to train her. The real test will come when she is paired with a team," the Anbu captain said. "We will have to go through the list of reserves that we can pair her up with. All the Shinan teams are full," Homaru said. The captain nodded when they were interrupted by another shinobi. "What is it?" Koharu asked. "Might Guy has returned with Sasuke in tow and restrained. He is taking him to the prison as we speak," the shinobi said. This surprised the three and wondered what the hell happened. XXX Shikamaru did a seal and his shadow shot out. Adding more chakra, he split the shadow in 2, then 4, then 8. It was his limit however as he got really tired. He stopped his technique and sat down on the grass. He hated doing this but it kept his mind off this thing with Naruto. Still, he couldn't believe that he was training instead of watching clouds. Either way, he needed to distract himself and this was actually helping. As he rested, Shikamaru picked up another scroll. It had a technique that he was also learning besides clan techniques. It was another barrier jutsu called the Three-Seal Barrier. It would be a great barrier to learn in case he needed to protect his team's campsite or to create an escape. His father would give him this scroll and he was really glad that he had a friend who taught him basic sealing. Shikamaru sighed and got back to work on the 2 new jutsu. He was still a bit annoyed doing this and he, of course, blamed his friends. XXX Naruto struggled as he held a water balloon in his hand. He was growling as he tried to swirl the water that was within. With a frustrated sigh, Naruto decided to take a break. He was at this for an hour. Jiraiya noticed this and looked up from his research. "You done already, kid?" Jiraiya asked humorously. Yeah, laugh it up pervy sage. "I'll get the hang of this in no time," Naruto exclaimed. "You've just started learning the Rasengan. You aren't going to get it so quickly. It took the 4th Hokage 3 years to actually create," Jiraiya explained. "Well, I'm going to be the best Hokage in the Leaf Village's history. So don't worry about me pervy sage, I'll get this down without any problem." Naruto boasted and got back to work. Jiraiya chuckled at the blonde but he was happy that it looked like he was okay. He believed that he was still thinking about the Uchiha kid trying to kill him or the Akatsuki that was after him. He saw the look on his face when he explained it to him. He wanted the boy to talk to him about everything but he threw himself into his training. For now, he would allow it but he was going to get the blonde to talk. He needed to let his emotions out with everything that was on his plate. Jiraiya kept watch as Naruto continued to attempt to burst the balloon. Tsume made her way toward the council room. She was a little tired because she had been doing patrols with members of her clan. She understood why but everyone was doing overtime, so she was a little cranky when an Anbu came to her and told her that she was requested. She just decided to get it over with so that she could get some sleep and check on her children. She remembered that Hana took Kiba to get a checkup on his arms. She entered the council room and noticed that it wasn't the full council. There was Shikaku, Choza and the elders. "Am I early?" Tsume asked. "No. Shikaku, Choza and yourself are the only ones that we need to speak to," Homaru said. "Okay. So, why are we here?" she asked. "As you know, we have upped the security due to the infiltration of 2 men. Those men were Kisame Hoshigaki and Itachi Uchiha," Koharu explained. "The clan slayer? Was he after his brother?" Tsume asked. "He was after Naruto," Homaru answered. "What?" she asked, fully alert now. "Why is he after Naruto? Where is he?" Naruto was selected by Jiraiya for a mission. The 2 made contact with him but Jiraiya was able to keep him safe. The 2 are continuing the mission. "Naruto is fine and safe," he explained. Tsume was still concerned but she did trust Jiraiya more than she trusted Kakashi. She calmed herself down but Shikaku noticed something with the elders. "That's not all, is it?" he asked. Tsume and Choza looked at him and then at the elders. "It was brief, but I did see Might Guy dragging a restrained Sasuke through the gates." "Why was that?" The 2 let out a sigh before looking at the 3. "Sasuke is being held in prison until his trial. Not only did he go AWOL, but he is being charged with attempted murder," Koharu said. "Attempted murder against Itachi?" Choza asked confused. The two did not answer him, but the look they gave him said volumes. It didn't take long for Shikaku to figure it out and hoped that Tsume did not. However, after a short while Tsume did get it. She realized that Sasuke left the village to chase his brother for revenge, something he would have never achieved at his level. She also knew that Sasuke would have been pissed that Itachi was focused on Naruto rather than him. Knowing how much Naruto has shredded his pride, Tsume spun around and began to stomp out of the room only to freeze up. She couldn't move and she knew why. "Let me go, Shikaku," Tsume demanded seriously. "Tsume, you need to calm down," Shikaku said. "The hell with that," she exclaimed. "This boy has crossed a line and I will be the one to show him what consequences that brings. If you do that, it will not change anything. The boy is already in jail and he will lose his forehead protector. Beating him up is unnecessary," he argued. "It will make me feel better." Tsume snarled. "Tsume," Koharu called out, getting her attention. "I know that you have no reason to trust us to do the right thing. However, we are just as upset that Sasuke would even attempt such a thing. We will not allow him to escape the consequences for this. We ask you to trust us to do this." Tsume was still pissed, but the tone that she said those words with did calm him down. Seeing that, Shikaku released her. Tsume turned back to the elders. She narrowed her eyes at them. "You promise me that he doesn't get away for these actions? I also want Kakashi to be punished as well. He knew the consequences if he didn't control his charge," Tsume said. "He will be punished as well. We guarantee it, Tsume," Homaru said. Tsume nodded and thanked the elders. She let out a sigh of relief. She loved that blonde like he was a member of her family, but he sure came with some baggage. Sakura was happy today. She was about to do a solo examination today. It was something that she worked herself up for since she started coming to the hospital. She had learned a lot for the nurses and doctors who taught her. She was even considering learning for Io-sensei to become a combat medic. She still wanted to go out on missions and stuff. Either way, it was time to focus up. She entered the room where she was going to do the checkup when she was surprised at who she was checking on. "Ino?" Sakura asked, surprised. Ino was also surprised at who she was seeing. Sakura gave her a quick look over and saw that she was sporting some nasty bruises on her shins and fists. She looked back at Ino only to see that the blonde was giving her a nasty look. "What are you doing here?" Ino asked rudely. Sakura was really put off by the tone, but she calmed herself and acted professionally. "I'm a volunteer here. I am here to give you your checkup before you see the doctor," Sakura explained. "I refuse," Ino stated. "Excuse me?" Sakura asked, confused. "I don't wish to be checked upon by you. I wish for another nurse now," the blonde said with an edge. Sakura was shocked by this and a little annoyed. She didn't understand why she was acting like this, but she had other duties. While Ino ruined her first solo exam, it would not be her last. "Very well, I will inform the head nurse," Sakura said and turned to leave. "Yeah, you do that," Ino spat. Sakura did not say anything and walked out of the examination room. Sasuke sat in his cell, rage in his eyes. He so wanted to activate his Sharingan and leave this cell, but these damn cuffs cut off his chakra. He also noticed a seal on the ground and it only made him glare more. He didn't know what it did, but he knew that loser had something to do with it. Naruto Uzumaki was a name that Sasuke had grown to hate as of late. Sasuke would never admit to anyone that he was jealous of Naruto. Naruto knew an art that he could not get his head around and it made the idiot strong. Not only that, he seems to get even stronger learning sealing jutsu, strength that he could have used. He had been personally trained by the village's top jonin and somehow, someway, that loser was able to keep up with him. It was infuriating to him and a hit to his pride. Naruto would continue to shred his pride when he defeated him in front of the village. That loser had the nerve to defeat him, the last Uchiha. He should have been on his knees, begging him to stop hitting him. Then there was Gaara. He should have won against that monster. It didn't matter what he used, he should have won. Yet again, Naruto was the one to stop Gaara. Not him, Naruto. Now that loser had Itachi's attention. Why him? Why was he so damn important? It should be him that Itachi should have focused on. He was the Avenger. His ambition was to avenge his clan and there was no way that Naruto was going to take that from him. So, in his mind, Naruto had to be removed. If he did it, then Itachi would focus on him. He was within his right to do what he needed to complete his ambition. He had no reason to feel any guilt in his actions. The village thought otherwise. In theory, he should have kept quiet about his actions, but that scared bastard insulted him. He played with his anger over Naruto. This made him reveal his actions when he met up with them. The elders were not happy with him and placed him in this cell. They informed him that he was being charged with attempted murder and going AWOL. They promised that he would never wear the leaf symbol again. As if he wanted to. So, this is the last Uchiha. A voice said. Sasuke looked up to see an elder. However, this was not the same elder that put him in the cell. He had black, shaggy hair, and his right eye was bandaged. He also had an X-shaped scar on his chin. He wore a white shirt, with a dark gray robe over the top of it covering from his feet to just over his right shoulder. His right arm was missing, and his left hand held a cane. A shame that he could not live up to expectations. "Who the hell are you?" Sasuke demanded. "I do not give my name to future traitors," the elder said. Sasuke snarled and glared at the man. "If you're here to give me another lecture, then you've wasted your time," Sasuke spat. "I came to look at the rotten fruit that threatens to make our great tree sick. Despite our disagreements, Hiruzen made the right decision in nurturing our future. I refuse to allow his good work to be ruined by such a petty child. I will personally make sure that you are stripped of our symbol and thrown in the darkest of holes," he said before turning around and leaving, merging with the shadows of the prison. Sasuke just glared hard at the area the elder was standing. It's been a while since someone spoke to him like that. It was something he did not enjoy. Sasuke did not care if he lost his symbol. He did not care about the Leaf Village anymore. The village was a crutch that was holding him back. All that training and talk of camaraderie meant nothing if it did not give him the power to get vengeance. Avenging his clan was all that mattered, and the hidden leaf was not providing him with the power needed to achieve it. If this village wouldn't give him the power, then he would go to someone who can. Sakura was checking on Asuma while Haku was checking on Kurenai. The two were still hospitalized but got good news that they would be leaving soon. Sakura took her fingers off Asuma's vein and looked at him with a smile. "You are getting back to full strength. I'm still surprised that your lungs are still very good, especially with all that smoking," Sakura said. "Sarutobi trade secret," Asuma said sarcastically. Kurenai rolled her eyes at the joke. Haku had also finished his examination and faced the two. "Well, you are both able to leave but the doctor still wants to observe you for another day," Haku said. This made Asuma groan and Kurenai smirked at his frustration. Sakura was also amused by their interaction and wondered if the two were dating. That's when Sakura remembered what happened earlier today and had a question for Asuma. "Asuma-sensei, is Ino angry at me or something?" she asked. The bearded Jonin looked at her. "Why are you asking?" he counter-asked. "Well, I was trying to give her a checkup today and she totally gave me attitude. She refused to allow me to check on her and she had some nasty injuries on her shins and fists. I don't know what I did because we haven't spoken to each other since we were assigned teams," Sakura explained. Asuma sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose. "It's nothing that you did, Sakura. Ino is just being childish. Your battle with Hinata at the Chunin finals was not something she expected to happen. She's very jealous of your growth," Asuma explained. Sakura was surprised by this explanation as was Kurenai. The female kunoichi was about to say something but they were interrupted by the doctor entering the room. "Oh, Sakura, Haku, are you done with the checkups?" the man asked. "Yes, doctor," the two said. He nodded at them before looking at Asuma. The Jonin saw the seriousness on his face. "Is something wrong, doctor?" Asuma asked. "I would hope not, but since you are her sensei, I felt that you should know about Ms. Yamanaka," the man said. "Is this about the bruises, doctor?" Sakura asked. "I wish it was just that. The bruises are bad but so are the cracked fibula on both legs. Then there is the fracture in her wrist. These are pretty serious injuries for just training," the man explained. Asuma was not pleased with what he was saying. "Training? Is that what she told you?" Asuma asked seriously. "It is, and I believe she was telling the truth. I figured that I would inform you as you are here. I have already sent someone to inform her parents to come and see me so that I could explain the situation to them. Still, I recommend that you keep an eye on her. She's likely to hurt herself if this continues," the doctor said. "Thank you for informing me." The doctor nodded and motioned for the two. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.